Hello everybody and welcome, and yes, that's what's happened. We've just combined the crossover and NBL overtime, and the creative minds of which we are has come up with crossover times overtime, and the same thing happens. We're talking hoops after a big weekend in the NBL. Hello to you wherever you might be. The Kings earlier today, and as you see, the JJs get it done late. Liam Santa Maria in the house. Hello to you, Liam.
What's happening, man?
Oh man, I'm excited because
here we
look
are.
At this. And, of course, Damon Lowry. Hello, D. How you doing?
Sensational, man. Good to be here.
Man, a lot going on. A lot going on. We're going to get into that. Still a game tomorrow night, which has huge repercussions, in particular for one team. And we're going to get to Josh Majette in a moment or two. But big afternoon for you. Anything take your eye?
The JackJumpers, mate. They are just so resilient. They just hang tough, hang tough. Brisbane want to go up tempo and score in that first half. They just go with them, score 54 points, just keep piling it on. And then when push comes to shove down the stretch, they execute. They execute better than any other team in the league in those crunch time situations, and they get another big win on the road.
Huge reason for that is their point guard, Josh Majette, who joins us now. Josh, as we welcome you into crossover and overtime. Nice win on the road, never easy to do, but you got it done late. On the back, as Liam just mentioned, that second half defence.
Yeah, that wasn't really us in the first half, and Scott let us hear about it. It was unacceptable and not something we're accustomed to, but made a few adjustments and just we're definitely more solid in the second half, especially in the fourth quarter.
Very, very solid, Josh. That's what you guys do. Tell you who was a bit more than solid, Milton Doyle. How impressed were you with his play down the stretch today?
Man, he was lights out. I think he's settling into the league, and, you know, that first time around, the league is tough. Everyone knows how physical and different teams guard you different ways, and he's a super smart guy, and he's figuring it out, and everybody on this team backs him to make plays down the stretch, whether he can score or make passes to Magna, as you saw down the stretch. He's just somebody we really count on.
Josh, I've been a fan of the way you guys play, man, last season and this season. What your mindset is like when you're coming down the stretch late in the game and you just have to execute?
Yeah, I think it's a real strength of ours. It's something we're comfortable with. As we got into the back half of last year, it felt like every game was coming down to those last 6-7 minutes, and we just get to that point and we expect to win. It doesn't matter who it is making plays down the stretch. It's a different guy every night, it seems like, for us, and it's something we're really comfortable being in, and something we really pride ourselves on is execution.
Hey, speaking of becoming comfortable, 10 minutes, 14 points in 10 minutes tonight for Will Magnay. Of course, the frustration for Will more than anyone, but us as basketball fans waiting for him to be able to get a good run at it. He's getting it. It's a huge bonus, isn't it, to your team?
Oh, man, he's a difference maker. He brings something I don't think anybody else in this league can bring to a team. He's a rim protector, a roller. He's a voice for us on the floor. He does so many things, and he's fun to play with, and we're really grateful to have him back.
Josh, I asked you about Milt before. Mama Doyle thinks he's an MVP candidate, and we're all snoozing on that. Where do you feel like he sits amongst all of those conversations?
That might be something I'll let y'all talk about, but he's definitely up there. You know, he's a closer. He's someone who has, you know, a lot of confidence and poise to himself down the stretch of games, and you know, I think when you're talking about MVPs, that can go a really long way.
Josh, congratulations, man, on the new addition to the family, Hayes Majette, I believe. Congrats.
Thank you.
Does he look like you? Does he look like your missus?
We've heard mixed, a little bit of both. Hopefully he looks more like my wife as he gets older. But yeah, no, it's been great. We're just very blessed, and he's sleeping a lot, so let's hope it stays that way.
Congratulations, mate. Beautiful family, and a beautiful win today for the JJs as they go to Brisbane and get the job done. Appreciate your time as always, mate.
Appreciate you guys.
Josh Majette, of course, the absolute, as you two would know, the absolute creme de la creme intelligence of a point guard, not to enter into something you know could backfire. And the MVP question you fired at him is exactly that. But I'll ask you, MVP, All-NBL team, do you have Milton Doyle in those conversations right now?
No. With all due respect to Milton Doyle, because he is nice. That dude is good at basketball, but it's a little bit, they got so much balance in the JackJumpers that no one guy can stand out on a consistent basis. Because in the next couple of games, it might be R. Kelly. It could be Jack McVeigh. It could be Will Magnay down the stretch. So I'm just saying that even though he has the talent to be All-Star 5, I just don't have him in it just yet.
I think he's in those conversations. Maybe not MVP at this point. Or league, I think, for sure. Remember, there's 3 spots in that first team, also 3 spots in that second team. They had Josh Adams in the All-NBL second team last season. I feel like Milton Doyle is in that same realm. And Josh Magette, we're used to the idea of him like being the league leader in assists. He's not even in the top 10 right now, but he's still just an outstanding point guard for that team. Just picks the spots, get the ball to the right person in the right moments, and they come up big down the stretch.
All right, the Bullets, they were good for 3.5 quarters. They got the dub in overtime on Thursday night. Sam McKinnon gets his first win since sliding on over from the GM position, which he holds both titles still, doesn't he?
He does.
What do we make? I'm going to start with you, Damon, because, we had a bit of a chat before the show. What do you make of this Brisbane situation?
The basketball gods are not happy with you guys, and neither am I. It ain't right. Something ain't right. It's going to take me a while to get over. Something's going on over there, Liam. I call shenanigans when it went down. Now, I think over the course of the time, you get found out. You might think you want something, and then what you end up getting isn't what you really want. So, these guys was playing a certain way with James Duncan, lost 5, win 3 out of the next 4. For some reason, didn't want to play that way no more. I want to know why. Nobody's come out and told me why. So, now you get what you think you want in Sam, and this ain't no disrespect to Sam McKinnon, but now all of a sudden you win, you get blown out of New Zealand. That was always going to happen because the preparation was horrendous. You win a game, and then now you lose by 15 at home. I'm saying the basketball guys don't respect this kind of stuff that's going on behind the scenes, and it's got to get sorted out before they can get any level playing field. That's my take.
I'm not sure I'm on board with what you're laying out. Firstly, so if it's not working, it's not working. And when you speak to the players and the people within that team, I mean, we've both been on teams in this type of situation where it just doesn't feel right. There's a tension, there's an atmosphere where people aren't respecting or listening to the coach, that they don't feel like he's doing the same, vice versa. And if that's the situation, you got to make a move. You can't just sit in with a situation and a coach where it's not working out. Now, I like James Duncan. I think he's a really great coach, and he's going to have a good career in the game, whether it's here or elsewhere. Like he's already done across the globe. But for this team, my understanding is there's an enjoyment. There's a release of pressure and tension in that atmosphere. Now, they didn't get a result today. They did the other night. I thought the way they played today was better than what we've seen previously. It was a bit looser, a bit freer. And I think that they've made the right move when all is said and done.
Don't agree with that at all.
That's okay. Just stick with it when they're not feeling it.
That's okay. Liam, you know how it is.
And Sam McKinnon's interim, right? He doesn't want to be the head coach going forward, does he?
I reckon there's a bit of wait and see.
Okay.
He wants to be the head coach.
Oh,
you think so?
There you go.
Oh, yeah. He wants that job. Sam don't want to be GM. Whose job is it to find an import, by the way, anyway? Who's doing that? But anyway, I digress.
But why bother going to find an import now?
Why? Because you want to be competitive. You want to ride this season out. If this is the team, it's not enough. You're not gonna win more than 2 more games.
You
probably.
say give up on the season.
I'm not saying give up on the season, but I think there's an opportunity now. Now, Cribb's going out with that ankle, and he was going to get some burn. He'd been playing really well, but geez, they're a team that financially are struggling a little bit or don't spend as much as some of the other ones. Why go out, find an import who may not be going to play when you got some kids? Are they making the playoffs?
Absolutely not. But I need to find somebody for next year.
No, it's
what
true.
if I get a guy? What if I find a diamond in the rough and go, hey, this guy works out? Or do I just keep riding out what I got now?
That happens. That's how Melbourne United found Casper Ware. They didn't make the playoffs that season.
Well, hang on a second.
Hold on.
They're not going to. They bought him in on big money, and they still thought they could make the playoffs at the time. And in the end, he was a high-priced import. Brisbane aren't going to pay that much.
It's a top 6.
Well,
you get on a roll in the second half.
Yeah.
You get Bainesy back. You get Harrison back. And with this new system, maybe you find a little momentum. Find the right guy. Anything can happen.
Yeah, we're fired up. There you go. What do you make of it? Let us know via @NBL, via all the socials. A quick break. All thanks to sports, but it's time for At the Line.
Welcome to At The Line. My name is Simon Legg, and we're here to talk about a monster NBA slate on Monday. And as always, I'm joined by Josh Jenkins. Josh, how you doing?
I'm well, thanks, Leggy. You're looking fantastic as always. Now, the NBA season, we've been going for a couple of months. We're seeing some good teams, we're seeing some bad teams. So, keen to talk about a few good teams, but also maybe a couple of bad teams as well.
Yeah, a couple of stinkers, but two good teams that are trending upwards are the Nuggets and the Pelicans, and they meet on Monday. How do you see this one playing out?
Yeah, this will be a good game. Both teams have got a lot to like about them. Of course, Denver, they've got the MVP, Nikola Jokic, amongst their squad, and we'll talk about him in a moment. But the Pelicans, you know, Zion Williamson, Brandon Ingram, finally they look like they're starting to get their act together. And Dyson Daniels, a top 10 pick from last year, the boy from Bendigo, he's getting some opportunities as well, and he's making the most of them.
Yeah, we had 28 minutes the other night in an impressive win. It was good to see him get some burn. Now, for this clash, you've got a bet that revolves around the two-time MVP, Nikola Jokic. Well,
I've sacked the multis for a moment because they just haven't been cutting the mustard. So Nikola Jokic to record a triple-double. He's averaging 23, 10 and 9. So one more assist and he gets the job done. So $3.20. He hasn't actually recorded a triple-double a lot this year, but he's close all the time. So hopefully he can get the job done.
Well, the numbers and the averages would say he is close. So I don't mind that. Now, the next clash is between two Eastern Conference teams, the Celtics and the Nets. Firstly, are the Nets starting to get their act together, or are we just being seduced again?
Well, I'm not being seduced because the next hiccup, the next problem is always around the corner. Always around the corner with this team. So Boston, they've been the most impressive team in the NBA this year as far as I'm concerned. If you think about what they had happened to them during the preseason, losing their coach, I love what they're doing. So two teams trending differently.
And we also want to talk about the MVP market because one of the reasons why the Celtics are going so well is because of Jason Tatum. Now, you can see here he started the season in the MVP market at $12.
Look at that.
Where's he come into, Josh?
Look at that. $12 before the season started. Now, next graphic, and there it is. Ooh. Third favourite, and I reckon he can actually win it too. So $4 might be a good price still.
And in this match now, we think the Celtics should be able to get over the line. But what's your actual bet? What's your best here?
Look at that. Boston 11+. Brooklyn, they've just got children. Not children. They've got problem people all over the place. So Boston 11+, $4, best bet of the week.
I think there's some good value there. And if you want to follow Josh in, please make sure you do so responsibly.
You know the score. Stay in control. Gamble responsibly.
They're the best team in the league. They're the defending champions, and they're in total control today. That man, Derek Walton Jr., 16 points, 11 assists, 4 players in double figures. They went to work in front of nearly 10,000 at Kudos Bank Arena. And Damon Lowry, the defending champions, is doing what defending champions need to do.
Yep, just motoring along. This guy right here, Derek Walton Jr., from the great state of Michigan, is pure class. He's flying so under the radar, but he can do everything at the point guard position. Liam, he's got the 3-ball. He can work the pick and roll sensation. He's got the pocket passes, the left-handed hook passes. He can get into the key and create. He got the Euro steps. He can finish with either hand. The guy is a highly skilled point guard that leads the team. He don't need to be on the floor for 35 minutes. He don't need to get 25 points a game, but on any given night, he can bury you. He was a sensational today.
Could be MVP of the league if he wanted to be. You know, he comes out, has 32 and 8 in first game, then 26 and 8, something like that in game 2. And then he starts to get a read like, you know what, maybe I need to get some other guys going. Xavier Cooks and Dejan Vasiljevic. And he just, you're right, he's just under total control. You know, we enjoy watching Will McDowell-White be in control of New Zealand Breakers games. Well, this guy does that on another level. And today was outstanding, a double-double. He just really had control of that game throughout.
We spoke a lot about Sydney, both on this particular show with you and your crew and on NBL Overtime. They are the best team in the league, right?
Are they?
Yeah, they are the best team in the league.
There's some people across the ditch that have a problem with that.
New Zealand have been great, but I'm going to go to defending champions right now in front of New Zealand, who have been outstanding, so I'm not diminishing what the Breakers are doing. But what I think's worked for Sydney, in particular when they've had the high import turnover, they've brought these new imports in who don't have that championship last year to sort of rest on, that sometime coast through. They've got Xavier Cooks, who's probably the most valuable player right now, trying to strive to be the best player in the league, in the country, and burst into a Boomers team. You have Vasiljevic, who's likewise. He's probably, that tier and that real dogfight for a guard position. They just got the perfect storm right now that continues to motivate them so they don't have any lulls. And you don't always see that from defending champions in any league, in any sport right around the world. So I think that's the thing that's working for Sydney. It's this nice, perfect storm. Xavier Cook's missed a couple, but they're the best team in the league for mine. Not by a mile, because I love what New Zealand are doing, but they're still number one for me.
They have a collective, what's the word I'm looking for? No complacency from a collective point of view. Xavier Cook's, personality-wise, he's humble, he's hungry, he's not ahead of himself, he knows exactly who he is as a player. He's a leader. Sean Bruce, Horsham. Shout out to Lisa Lowry. Horsham Hornets, shout out to all them dudes. But hard-working, plays the right way. DJ, assassin. But just knows how, appreciates that he's still playing basketball after that injury he had. Tasted some success. They got a two-headed monster that they can play by committee. Suarez, Jordan Hunter. I love it. Other teams can take a page out of that book, Liam, by using two bigs.
Yeah, and I reckon they've got a little Tim Suarez upside too. I mentioned it on the broadcast today. He's only been shooting like 30% from three on the season, but he's actually much better than that. Now, when he starts knocking that down and then teams start becoming a little bit more and more attached to him, well, now the lane opens up for Justin Simon and Derek Walton Jr. and Xavier Cooks even more. So I think they've even got more room to grow.
6 weeks ago, we've seen Xavier Cooks absolutely throw down dunk of the year, and now there is a contender from Xavier Cooks. Check this out if you missed it today. Last time it was Humphries, this time it was Soto. Bang!
Oh, jeez.
I can't really speak of it being above the rim. I'm not as confident you two can, but you can probably speak to it a little more qualified than I can. I love that stare he gives. I love the reaction that he gives. Here is over Humphries earlier in the year when they just absolutely belted Melbourne United. I'm going to go to you first, Liam.
Yep.
Which one currently is the dunk of the year?
This one still is. There's something primal about the way he threw that one down. There's something, I don't know, is it Dominic Wilkins-esque about the way he gets that one-hand grab on the rim and he's going through and over and around contact. And he did it again today.
Yeah.
The shoulder joint, I don't know how it's still intact. The range. He can generate speed from one step. He doesn't need to gather and, people get their feet together. No, he can just be running, all of a sudden just explode. He's dunked over 14 feet worth of human. 2 7-footers. It don't matter. Zayd goes left, he just finishes, man. Just sensational.
You know what was cool about that one today, too? Now, it wasn't in transition. He runs the length of the floor against Isaac Humphries, and it's like a runway to that massive dunk. This one, Soto checks into the game and Chase Buford runs it, says, get the ball to Xavier Cooks on the elbow, turns and faces, and just generates his momentum from there, and he went up and over the shot blocker.
Now, sometimes it takes a big dunk to generate momentum. Other times it takes a timeout in the first 26 seconds of a game. And John Rillie, in his first year as a head coach of the Perth Wildcats, had to, he had to signal early last night, boys. It was surprising at the time. It did the magic because in the end they get the job done. We see Abercrombie, no luck. And John Rillie is just seething, just thinking, I've got to look towards the bench. Too easy, and all of a sudden, bang!
Now, I don't know about you guys, but does it take longer than 26 seconds to get you upset? Look at John. He's going, what the hell was that? Tayshaun, what did I tell you about Derek Parton? I told you he was going to get on the glass. All right, man. Okay, it ain't just me, God, get everybody. Let's go. John, in 26 seconds, I've only seen one person get mad like that quick. Lisa Lowry, when I didn't cut the backyard after she told me to cut it for 3 weeks.
Took her 26
seconds.
26 seconds.
Absolutely love it.
Yeah.
Love it from John Rillie because they have been soft at the defensive end and on the glass.
That's the worst thing you can call
I'm
somebody.
sorry. This is the Perth Wildcats. They should not be even anywhere near that territory. But they're one of the lowest ranked teams for defensive efficiency, and they're one of the lowest ranked in defensive rebounding percentage. Tayshaun Thomas was brought in to be a big, strong unit down there. And Brady Manick and Luke Travers, these guys needed to do more. So they come into that game playing against a really tough, brutish team. And all they would have been talking about was defense and defensive rebounding. And they come out and don't get it done in the opening possession. Dean Vickerman does that. If it's the top thing on the scouting report and you didn't get it done, we're getting back together and reiterating the point. I love it. They went on and got the win.
48 hours to stew on what happened in Brisbane as well when they got beat, when they probably had the game right there to win. And JR just said, you know what, I've had enough. I'll tell you what, though, John Rillie, who is in his first year of coaching, I'll give you a little bit of a hint because this is what you need to do. See these bad boys?
Uh-oh.
They're the Omni Pump 2. One, you got to get a pair, but two, you go on the Reebok Australia website tonight before 8 p.m. for your chance to win 2 tickets to a Hungry Jack's NBL semi-final game and ready for this?
No.
$1,000 Reebok voucher. So purchase them tonight before 8 p.m. Reebok Australia website. And I'm talking to John Rillie right now, but I'm talking to every basketball fan right around the nation. Get involved, Reebok Australia website, and you can win. Quick break. Plenty more on the other side of this. There was a big night last night. Throwdown, always full of expectation and intensity. Last night was no different. And Mitch Creek again leads South East Melbourne Phoenix to a closer than expected win. Melbourne United with some key outs, but in the end, this South East Melbourne Phoenix momentum train is starting to roll, Santa Maria.
It is. It took a little hiccup over in New Zealand because they really got belted in that game. And that's what sort of happens with the Phoenix, I feel like. Every time you think they're going to start storming up the table, they drop one that, you know, they maybe really didn't turn up for. So last night was an impressive win, though. Lots of tough adversity on the travel back, flight cancellations, late arrivals and the like. And Chris Goulding was always threatening last night, and they did enough to close it out.
Can we?
That's it. You don't trust them then?
The difference between their best and their worst, I think, is the biggest in the league.
So you don't trust them?
Not really.
Okay, we got there in the end.
Can we just make a pact? I've already made a pact. I want to see if you guys want to jump on board my pact. No more mention of anything relating to adversity. I don't want to hear about your players who ain't playing. I don't want to hear about your flight details and how long you were sitting in the airport for. Because there was a subtle, built-in excuses. If you know people say there's no excuses, they'll tell you about their flight delays. Don't want to hear it. Just hoop. Whoever's there, just hoop. With that being said, I also don't trust the Melbourne Phoenix. Southeast Melbourne Phoenix.
Because of that late arrival?
I don't want to hear it.
I'll grant when it comes to a delayed flight, I'll half jump on your pack. But if a team is missing key players, that has to be not a major excuse because we are a deep league here in the NBL and players have to stand up and get their opportunity. But if you're missing key players at certain times, that's at least a slight little reason as to why the team might not perform that well.
I was a bench player. I loved it when one of the starters was out. I couldn't wait for if somebody rolled their ankles, like, oh, you okay?
I'm not sure the coach felt the same way.
But if somebody like me who come on, give me some extra minutes, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I hear you, but I don't want to hear it. We can see with our own eyes who's not playing. I don't want to hear about it in the press conference. I don't want to hear it in the pregame because you're just setting yourself up for a nice little subtle excuse.
Well, you might need to block your ears from time to time on Sunday afternoons because I'm going to bring it up.
You got one right now for me? Any excuses?
For who?
Melbourne United?
No.
None.
Cooked.
Yeah. And look, I think
Shea Ili.
Shea Ili's the big one.
out.
And Isaac Humphries, but there is no doubt it's been a disappointing year so far because anytime you are pulling on a jersey that says Melbourne United and the standard of which they set themselves, and the Perth Wildcats are identical last year and again in parts of this year, there is an expectation they are going to be very strong and they haven't yet, for whatever reason, been able to consistently put it together.
Whose fault is that? That's their fault. The guys that rock up, once you walk over that line, I don't want to hear about your hamstring, your ankles, nothing. You got to go out there and you got to hoop and get it done. These guys have had 14 games to figure it out. Haven't figured it out.
Well, they haven't been able to figure out with the guys they've got to replace Shea Ili.
Shea Ili not being there is massive.
It is huge.
He's an absolute game changer. Go ahead and do that because you can't deny the fact. He's one of the elite point guards in the league.
He's played 3 games.
Yeah, and they have missed him greatly. They've been asking Xavier Cooks, Xavier Retan-Mays to be different to who he actually is. If he was in uniform, Shea Ili, they would have more wins on the board and they'd be in a better position.
If was a fifth, we'd all be drunk. I don't want to hear about the ifs. He's played 3 games. What's the best ability, Liam?
Availability.
Done.
Hey, by the way, Melbourne played tomorrow night against Illawarra. Is he playing?
No.
He's definitely not playing tomorrow?
I don't
Back next
believe
week.
so.
Okay. I don't know.
We'll forfeit the game then.
I've been at Disneyland.
Shane ain't playing. Well, just forfeit. Don't show up.
Big game.
Huge game.
Come on, Hawkies.
Huge game. Damon, Liam.
Come on,
Nice
Hawks.
start. There we go. Sundays. On that note, we're getting out of here. NBL Overtime's back on Tuesday. Crossover's back next week. I'll look at the right camera. Tomorrow night's a big one.